seconds.
Is this where the damn drumming and the music kicks in?
Yeah. What is going on, everybody? Hello, and welcome to another episode of On the Pipe Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tyler Shepardson, and today is Monday, June the 13th, 2022, and you are joining me just in the nick of time for another episode of OTP's Weekend Review with Stu. We'll be joined by Stu Baylor in just a few moments to talk about his race at the National Enduro, where with a lingering broken neck and a broken face, he went out and got second place. But there was a lot of other racing that happened, and we're going to get to that with him in just a few moments. I want to thank you guys once again for listening to the show, for clicking on the show, for supporting the show. It means everything to me because I'm trying to make this thing work. And while we are still, I'd say, waist deep in Up to Something season, your support and you continuing to listen to this show really means a lot because I got to find a way to make this thing work or I'm going to be homeless. So, with that being said, I've been stuck in a little bit of rut here lately, but I think I'm out of it. I think I'm finally at the breaking point. I think I'm finally at the point where I'm so frustrated with myself that it's time to make a change. And so, we need to do 2 shows a week. We need to do maybe more than 2 shows a week. We need to stop putting stuff on the back burner, and we need to get it pumped out to the OTP audience because you guys are the absolute best. And girls. A lot of girls listen. Imagine that. It's about dirt bikes. I don't know why they listen, but they're here, you're here, we're here. And I couldn't be any more excited. Coming off of this weekend, not a lot to talk about in the racing world. I looked up West Coast stuff. I don't think anybody raced out there. I checked Hare and Hound, nothing. Checked Works, nothing. I checked NGPC, nothing. I think they might be on their summer break. One of those series is on their summer break. So, once again, I need to learn more about the West Coast stuff. But I guess we're going to turn our attention mostly to National Enduro that happened over the weekend down in Greensboro, Georgia. It was 187 degrees with 105% humidity. And that is why I chose not to go. I had every intention in the world to go down to the National Enduro. I ended up not making it. Instead, I got up with a couple of buddies of mine, and I went and actually my buddy Brandon Peterson and my buddy Aiden. Aiden, if you have an OTP T-shirt, Aiden made it. He screen printed all of them. And then my buddy Brandon Peterson, he's been my buddy for years. We ran the whole GNCC season together a couple times. So we all went out and rode some dirt bikes. We went to Brown Mountain. So if you saw my stories, we were at Brown Mountain in North Carolina. It is top 3 favorite places to ride for me. I love that place. There's a little bit of everything. And by everything, I mean mountains. So there's a lot of mountain stuff. Now, the thing about Brown Mountain is some of the marked trails are good. A lot of the marked trails are blown out by side-by-sides and kind of ruined at this point. But if you go with a local tour guide, there's a ton of trails at Brown Mountain that are untouched single-track goodness. And it was so much fun to ride. It was so much fun to get back on the bike. I was thinking about it. That was my first destination ride since I broke my leg. So the first time that I said, hey, I'm going to get all my gear. I'm going to go to this place just to ride my dirt bike. First time I did it. I've ridden it at a couple of the full gasses, but I don't think I even put gear on it anymore. I put gear on it the first full gas that I announced, and the screws in my ankle are right where my boot hinge moves. And so I couldn't wear boots. I get hurt just wearing the boots. So all the other times I've ridden the bike, for the majority of the time, it's just been in tennis shoes. So it was awesome to go out there, get geared up, to go ride like I had intention to ride. And it was awesome. And my first thought coming off of that mountain was, man, this beta is awesome. And I'm not even saying that. Like, it would suck. So, part of the thing with sponsors, and part of the reason why we don't have a lot of sponsors already, I've had people reach out, and I've had companies reach out, but I will never accept anyone's money in exchange for me promoting their products or services on here if I do not believe in their products or services. That being said, I'm so glad that I would never have to lie about a beta motorcycle because you couldn't smack the smile off my face with a stick. That thing was awesome. When I wanted to stop in the middle of a hill because I ran out of talent, that beta just kept plugging along like a little tractor up the mountain. I swear, you could climb a brick wall on that thing. I can't say anymore how impressed I was with that motorcycle everywhere. I mean, all I've done to that thing is clickers. Suspension felt awesome. That was probably the most surprising part of my day. Is I was worried that the suspension was either going to be too soft and I was going to be clanking on everything, or that it was going to be too stiff and it was going to rattle my brains out. That bike felt perfect. Like, I don't think there's anything I would change. So I will say the stock tires absolutely need to be changed as soon as you get the bike. That being said, I have not changed the stock tires, and the stock tires up there were awesome. Like, I think that is where they were meant for, because they were awesome. But that bike, the power, the way it lugs, I couldn't get enough of it. I was stoked to get back on a bike, stoked to get back riding. You don't want to hear about any of that. I'm going to post some GoPro footage of it a little bit later on. I was super slow, trying to get back into it, had instant arm pump. My entire body hurts right now. Muscles that I forgot I had are sore, but I'm already counting down the time to go ride at the next place. That being said, Beta Motorcycles is the official manufacturer of On the Pipe podcast. Beta Motorcycles has been family owned and operated since 1905. Beta Motorcycles are the best looking bike on the market and back it up with their superior performance. And that is true, because they look awesome and they ride awesome. Head over to betausa.com for more information on their available models and to get yours today. So go check out Beta Motorcycles, because everything was sick. But I'm going to stop talking about that. This episode is also brought to you in part by Zach Tussle at Raymond James Financial. Zach is a racer and a financial advisor that helps his client win when it comes to retirement and financial planning. If you or someone you know wants to save and invest for their future, or is already retired and needs advice for income during retirement, Zach Tussle is always my first recommendation. Find out more by Googling Zach Tussle or on their website at financialadvisorsdenvernc.com. He is the rider's financial guy. And with the way that the market is right now, if you don't pay attention to it, you should start paying attention to it. And if you don't want to pay attention to it, you should definitely contact Zach Tussle, because he pays attention to it like it's his job, because it is his job. So a lot of changes, a lot of stuff going on. Right now is the time. So it is the time to learn about your financial future and start planning for your retirement. Reach out to Zach Tussle, Financial Advisors, DenverNC.com, or find him on any of the socials. He actually raced the National Enduro this past weekend. So as we always say, he is a true rider. He is the guy that you want representing you. And I'm trying to continuously say more stuff so I can look up his results. I should have wrote that down, but I forgot that he was racing. But I think he did go down there, and you raced the Cherokee National Enduro. Can't find him in my result. Oh, Zachary Tussle, second place, Open A. So there you go. You tell me what financial advisor you know of that can beat Zach Tussle in a race. You can't do it. You can't do it. There's no chance. Second place in Open A this past weekend. That's pretty awesome. 39. No, wait. That's not right. 37 overall. So reach out to Zach. Ask him for some pointers on how to ride your dirt bike better, because he can probably do that better than most of us. And ask him about your financials. That being said, let's get into the National Enduro. Let's talk about a little bit of the results that went on this past weekend. Taking the win on the day was a former National Enduro champion, Grant Baylor, who's been riding a wave of success here lately. He continues that into the woods of Georgia as he takes home the win at the Cherokee National Enduro. Stu Baylor, through adversity, through everything that he has gone through, goes back out there with his dirt bike underneath his camper in the cargo storage bin and gets second place on the day. And Josh Toth, riding through injuries, battling it out, sucking it up, going out there, getting the job done, getting third place on the day with that final overall podium position. So Josh is going to have a battle on his hands this weekend. Him and Lane Michael are just 7 points apart in the U.S. Sprint Enduro Championship point standings. So this weekend, we will be going full gas Sprint Enduro racing in Martinsville, Virginia. I hope you can join us for that. And you can also follow along about the championship that's going to come down to it. Defending reigning Sprint Enduro champion Lane Michael will be defending his title against Josh Toth, like both, as it comes down to the very final round. That title is still very much up in the air. It is very much up for grabs, and both of those riders are a little bit banged up, so anything can happen. And it's going to be a good battle, and it's going to be an exciting one to watch this coming weekend. But Josh Toth goes out there, gets third place this weekend, puts it on the box, even, like I said, riding through a little bit of an injury. So that was cool. 2 out of 3 of the podium guys are hurt and still on the overall podium. I don't think that's a very small feat. I think that's a very cool feat. Looking at our Pro 2 class, Ben Nelko's perfect streak on the year comes to an end, but as you saw with Ben's recent post, he's been battling a little bit of an illness, a little bit of a sickness, and he still holds on for second place. But unseating him in his unbeaten streak in 2022 at the National Enduros, it was Brody Johnson, old Brody Johansson, going out there getting it done. He grabs the win in that Pro 2 class. If I'm not mistaken, I think it is his first Pro 2 win. Maybe not. He's been ripping for a while. He's probably won one before. And I think their whole family listens to the show. So, Brody, if you've won one, I'm sorry. You know, I sing your praises. I just wasn't researched enough. But he's always up there. He's always on the podium. He's always a challenger, and I'm sure that he's won one before, now that I say that. Ben Nelko, as I mentioned, holds on for second place. Going into the final test, I think he was 19 seconds down, and he ends up in that second place spot on the day. And then Jonathan Johnson, the older brother of Brody Johnson, ends up on the podium in third on that Beta Factory Racing Beta machine. And that does it. That completes it. Out of 6 pro riders on the podium, 4 of them are related. There's 2 brothers sharing the XC1 podium and 2 brothers sharing the Pro 2 podium. So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know of a time in history when that's happened, where there's been brothers on the overall podium and the Pro 2 podium, but that was pretty cool. And then we look at our women's pro class. Mackenzie Tricker, the reigning, defending 2-time National Enduro champion, goes out and grabs the win at the Cherokee. And then Rachel Guttish. Rachel Guttish had a elbow surgery, and this was her first. She was at the Mason-Dixon GNCC. So she raced GNCC last weekend, and she raced National Enduro this weekend. She gets second place in her return to National Enduro racing. We've talked about Rachel a lot on the show before. She is an awesome all-around dirt bike rider, so super pumped to see her back out at the races and back on a bike. And then Brooke Cosner. Brooke Cosner rounds out the women's podium with a third place finish after getting battered in the eye with a rock. It left a goose egg. It cut her open. It happened on a transfer. And that's a pretty crappy way to ride the rest of your day. That happened after test 2, I do believe. So no doubt that has to stink to ride through, but Brooke battles through it and ends up in third place in the women's pro class podium. Gavin Sievenpiper will he will be the top amateur. So the highest finishing amateur on the day, Gavin Sievenpiper. So congratulations to him. What's new in the world of OTP? We are still right in the middle of Up to Something season. I hope that I can announce it by snowshoe, so that way we can have a big old celebration up on top of the mountain. But we got to work out the kinks, work out the details. Stay tuned though. It's exciting. I'm excited. You should be excited. Also, just put out a video on YouTube today. It is raw highlights from the Mason-Dixon GNCC. I had a little bit of computer issues that stopped me from getting it out at the beginning of the week, but finally got that resolved. Got it up and going, so if you check out our YouTube channel, I've been putting videos up there pretty regularly. The show goes there regularly as well. All the shows actually go there. So I'm trying to pump out more video content, so let me know what you guys like, what you don't like, and be sure to check out that YouTube video if you don't mind. And I think you might enjoy it. It's just raw clips, exactly how I saw the race. And it was pretty interesting. Got some cool clips. The XC2 battle was absolutely insane. And the whole day, I kept thinking about how insane it was. And the overall lead battle was insane. With Trevor Bollinger and Ricky Russell, they were together the entire time, which that was a great battle in and of itself. But the XC2 battle, it was like 3, 4, 5 of them together the entire day. So all around awesome racing at the Mason-Dixon GNCC. And that's what I was thinking the whole time I was out in the woods filming them. And after going through and editing them and putting the video out, I'm even more impressed. What a great day of racing it was. And you can check that out at youtube.com/onthepipepodcast. Anyway, with all that being said, appreciate you being here. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening at, and be a friend, tell a friend. Let them know about OTP, and we're gonna get back to it. We're gonna stop slacking. Hopefully, I say that. Y'all don't need to hold me accountable because I should just do it. But if you want to, it helps. Anyway, thanks again for being here. Thanks again for listening. So now joining us for this week's OTP's weekend review with Stu Baylor. Welcome to the show once again. And I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked you yesterday. What the hell is wrong with you, man? You go out there, everything going on, and you get a second place finish. How was the race yesterday, and how do you feel about it?
It was up and down a little bit. I felt like I left a little bit out there. I know after the race, like, I had Mac Fank come up to me and he was like, "Yo, are you okay? Like, you're riding kind of like your brother." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said, "I couldn't hear you coming. You just kind of snuck up on me every time. And you were using end sides and kind of tiptoeing. You weren't 2 gears too low and blowing the nuts off that thing." And I was riding good, but I wasn't riding with my normal intensity. And I feel like I caught myself sleeping a few times, and test.
But not sleeping like the last Enduro sleeping.
Not that, yeah, not snoring, choking on my own blood kind of sleeping, but definitely like I would get out there and I would kind of get in a groove and riding really well, and then before I knew it, I felt like I was just trail riding, and I would have to kind of reset. And I think that kind of comes with not being fresh enough and on the bike as much as I'd like to be on the bike, and with obvious reasons. But yeah, I definitely got a few times in my riding, got a little bit lazy, and I want to say, like, the times where I really caught myself sleeping was test one. Like, towards the end of test one, the finish stuck up on me, and I was like, "Holy shit, we're done already." I was barely warmed up, and I think that comes with just not riding enough to go straight to my intensity level, and I was still kind of learning the test, and then it was over, which it was a shorter test one, and as the day went on, the test got longer and harder, and that was pretty miserable with the heat. But I know in test 4 and 5 both, which 5 I think I ended up winning, but both of those sections I really caught myself off guard, where the heat was really, really starting to set in, and and I didn't feel like I wanted to stand up as much as I needed to. And I was almost kind of starting to settle a little bit. And after test 4, I came in and I rode good. I think I was only a few seconds off the lead, but I just wasn't attacking the track. I was just tiptoeing around and kind of wasting time. And then test 5, although I won, kind of the same thing in the mid part of that section. It said it was 6 on the route sheet, but it ended up being almost 9 miles. And with the temperatures being almost not or in the 90s at that point in the day, it was pretty brutal. And I noticed like 4 or 5 miles in, I started kind of sleeping again. And test 6, I was like, you know what, I've got I forget what it was at the time, like 15 seconds to make up, and I was still in the hunt, and I had a little bit of a cushion on 3rd place. And little did I know that I had more of a cushion than I thought with Ryder checking in a little bit late going into that section. But I was just kind of going for it, and I think test 6 I actually went a little bit too hard too fast, and it was a really physically demanding test, probably one of the most physically demanding, especially with the heat that I've run in a national enduro, even on a good healthy day. So for a fat out of shape guy, it was really tough, but still ran a good time. I know that, being race fit, I probably could have been a little bit better, but I think, like I said, that the first test, the 3rd test or the 4th test and the 5th test is where I gave up the win on the day. And, with all of it, like, I know where I stand, I know what I need to work on. And I think a lot of it's just going to come back with seat time.
Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned feeling like you didn't do good on the first one. You end up 3rd place overall, but National Enduro is a place that you've always excelled at. And obviously, like you've talked about the past couple times on here about the riding and the skill not going away and just getting everything else back. And what is it like? So when you're out there, you mentioned that the test was actually 3 miles longer, so 33% longer than what you anticipated it being. How much does that affect you in a national enduro? Like when you're looking at the route sheets or at the mileage for each test, are you looking at mileage markers as you're going, or does it just feel like it was longer? Like, did you just feel like 6 miles should have already happened by now?
I watched the mileage, which this weekend was really weird. And the long transfers, there was actually no mileage posted. So it was kind of screwy. Like, obviously we don't ride with computers anymore, but I grew up riding, OG timekeeping enduros. So me personally, I stay into it pretty good, and I pay attention to what miles, the last mile that I saw. I know what minute I come out of each section and roughly what my average mile per hour was going to the gas stop. So like I stay pretty close on all that. And it comes by missing a check. Like I've missed an end check before, so now I try to pay attention really well. But this weekend, the tests were marked with mileage, but the transfers weren't, which was really screwed up as a rider. Like I'm trying to judge when I need to go in, and obviously that kind of messed up Ryder Lafferty and my brother both throughout the day. They went in a little bit late in 2 tests, but or 1 test each. But that's part of enduro racing. I mean, it's a timekeeping event. What's that?
Were they just scrambling to get there, or were they actually physically late, like their road already taken off?
No, both of them, their road already taken off a few seconds before they got there. I think my brother in test 2 went in a few seconds late, and then Ryder went into the last section a little bit late. But, like I said, there wasn't any mileage on the transfers, so you didn't really know exactly where you were on the track going to some of those sections. And that was a little bit frustrating, like for an old school enduro rider. Like I like to see the mileage if I'm not rocking a computer. And as I stated, most people don't anymore. I mean, it's not timekeeping. We watch a stopwatch, or we watch our watch, and we watch the mileage, but there was no mileage. So that was a little bit frustrating at times. But when I got in that test, I saw the miles clicking off, and I looked down at my Garmin. I was paying attention to my heart rate, and like me personally, I ride really good at a certain heart rate, but if I crest a number, I'm just blank. Like if I go too hard, I'm going to bust myself. And from time to time, if I get in a section, I can look down and I can see my heart rate and also the mileage. And I was looking down and I'm like, holy shit, we should be really close now. And I'm watching the mile markers go by, and I come out and I was like, hey, was that not a 6 mile section? And they were like, nah, it was actually a little bit over 8, almost 9 miles or something like that. And I was like, yeah, I could tell. But, for some guys, it doesn't matter. A lot of people don't like to look at times, lengths, anything. They like to go in and say, I'm going to ride this as best I can, because some people, when they see that last mile sign, like they push a little bit too hard or ride with a different intensity. And national enduros are more or less about riding like with 1% in reserve. And I mean, you were literally at 99% of as fast as you can go through the tightest, turniest. Sometimes obviously it's more open, but this weekend was very tight, lots of turns, twisty, rooty, rough. So you're riding at like 99%. And if you crest 100, if you go to that 110%, which most dirt bike riders, I know, obviously you can only give 100%. If you're one of the top racers in the world, I can tell you right now, there's such thing as 110. It's when your heart rate does some shit that you've never seen it do before. Your vision starts going blurry and your body can't keep up with your mind. That is 110%. That is more than you can physically keep up with. But we can ride there for brief periods of time. And when I say brief periods, like 3 minutes. So, an ISD special test, not even quite that long. So when you get into a 25, 30-minute section, you want to make sure that you're right at that spot. And usually the last few tenths, the last mile, I pay attention to the mileage, and I'll push that last mile a little bit harder than I did the rest of the test, because I know that I can maintain for those last few minutes. So me personally, I feel like I can save a couple seconds, maybe 2 at the most, but at least a couple seconds in that last few tenths by pushing a little bit more aggressively. So for me personally, yes, that test was a little bit of a curveball for me, and it was kind of tough, like not having the right, the right route sheet basically, and threw me a little bit of a loop. But it's racing. Obviously, there's a lot more variables than just riding your dirt bike. So, I'll take it. It was a really good day, and like I said, there was a few times that I felt like I could have done more, but when Grant's on and Grant's riding well, it's hard to beat him. And that's one of those tracks where Toth rides really, really well. And it was a dry day, which means riders also riding really well. He always does seem to excel when it's a little bit dry. But, looking at points right now, I think Grant has 22 on me. Ryder has 23. Toth has 10 or 11. I'm just really, really frustrated that I didn't finish Missouri. Obviously, I was bleeding from my eyeball and was a little bit scared, but now that I know that all it was a broken up face, and hell, I'm still riding with a broken up face, I figure I could have finished that one.
Dang. Yeah, especially now, like jumping right back into it and getting involved. I'm sure that Missouri race is something that comes to mind. But you mentioned how tight the track was this past weekend, and I saw some of that follow cam footage where he's literally keeping up with the best riders in the world by just running down the trail with a GoPro. And a lot of the posts that I've seen from amateurs, pro riders, and everything was people saying that this is one of the most, or the toughest, one of the toughest national enduros of the year. A lot of people saying it was their favorite national enduro of the year. What is your thought? Like, I guess I'm just more curious as to what makes that track different from all the others. Like, is it tougher than most just because of the heat and the humidity, or because of the actual terrain?
There's a few things. So if you're in the really tight trees, you got to think you're fighting a 450 that weighs 220 pounds, and you're back and forth, and you're not able to take a break. Like you saw the follow cam where he's kind of running through there. Like this was one of those tracks where you don't get a break. Like a GNCC, I can find an outside edge. I can find pro row. Like you may not think it, but man, pro row is 30 seconds, 25 seconds of track that everybody gets the best breather. And obviously it looks like we're racing, but it's smooth and we're usually sitting down, and that's for a reason. Like in 30 seconds, you can take your heart rate down 2 zones. So like we're taking every bit of break we can at these national enduros like this. And actually the next one in Pennsylvania is very similar. There is no break. Like you don't get that luxury of taking a deep breath and lowering that heart rate. It's just constantly one curveball after another. So that being said, with 98% or 97% humidity and 95 degrees, it made out for a fucking miserable day. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all. It was definitely tough, but it was a real old school enduro. And I heard some people complaining like, oh man, the transfers were long as shit. Dude, those transfers, I know it was still 95 degrees. You don't get to really, really cool off. But if we didn't have those 15-mile transfers, it would have been that much more miserable. Like at least we got a little bit of a break and a little bit of a breeze due to those transfers. So
they were 15 miles?
Yeah, we had a 13.4 and a 15.6. And
a lot of that's on roads at that race too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot of dirt roads. So you get some air in your hair, and it's nice. And that was kind of I feel like more of a lifesaver than a lot of people realize, than just sitting in the baking sun and then turning around and going right back to racing. But also, I mean, national enduros used to be a lot more spaced out like that. Like a lot of these people don't understand. Like that's the way when I grew up racing enduros. It was a lot of transfer. I mean, you'd have a lot of 100-mile days, like close to it regularly. And this was one of the longer ones. Obviously, with 40 miles of transfer, 30 miles of transfer, it changes things and adds to that number. But that was very normal back when I first started racing enduros. Now it's a lot more compact, and I think a lot of it too is a lot of people are losing private land. And we're going to either state parks where you can do it all in the same place, or we found one big property owner, like Randy Hawkins has a lot of property where they do the LBJ, and we've got 4 sections on the same property, and the rest of them are within jogging distance. So that's, to me, this weekend was a real national enduro. And I also heard the complaints about, oh, it's tight. Does the club not own a chainsaw? And the jokes like that. Like, to me, there was some really tight stuff, but the only frustrating part is passing lappers in those sections. Like, obviously that gets really frustrating, but if I'm hitting a tree at 10 to 16 miles per hour, I am most likely going to be okay. Obviously shit can happen. And it was so tight that I was pretty nervous about dipping my face into something, because obviously my fractures are all still not healed. But
yeah, that would probably hurt.
Yeah, that would hurt. So I was a little nervous on that. But like, big crashes don't happen in tight woods. Like yeah, you can pop your knee out, you can twist a hip, you can separate a shoulder, you can crack a collarbone, but chances are you're not going to go over the bars and break your neck in the tight trees. So for me, like, I enjoy that style of racing when it's a little bit more tamed down like that. Like, Missouri was abnormally fast and sketchy. Like, I've said it a few times, but normally that's one of my favorite races. And, I heard there were some other circumstances with them losing property that they could race on and stuff. But to me, it just felt like kind of a half-ass butchered track with a lot of sketchy fast stuff and a lot of state park property, which, again, they can't, the club can't control that. So it's nothing on them. Shit happens. So, I'm not blaming them. Obviously everybody else made it through that section aside from me and Ben, but 400 of the riders made it through there, and we just happen to screw up, and that's part of racing. But usually in the tight trees, you have a lot less chance of ending your day and bleeding your shit. And for me, like, Cherokee's one of those races where I always get to ride a little bit of what I grew up racing. and
Gotcha.
and that's tight trees, long transfers, gnarly, rooted, rough, physical, demanding tracks.
So being tight like that and being a little bit slower and more technical, right now you're kind of in essence making up for lost time from time you spent off the bike and trying to get back acclimated, get back in shape, get back in the swing of things. Does the tighter and more technical tracks, does that allow you? I know you mentioned the fear of injury and the fear of a big crash going down, but does that tighter stuff allow you to push harder, or would you prefer that it be more flowing trails to kind of get in a groove and flow?
No, I like the tighter stuff. Like to come back, even with my training. Like the majority of my training is going to be done on a moto track that's very safe, very tame, more of like a tighter turn track style moto track that's going to have a lot of ruts, a lot more technical stuff, and I'm not going to be out riding my GNCC trails or my big moto track. And the main thing is with the more technical tracks, like you've got to be very mentally sharp. Everything has to be done at the right time. With a faster flowing track, you can be a little bit late, you can be a little bit lazy, and you can get away with it. So even the difference in like our what we call our training track, which is basically a minute and a half motocross track that has a lot of small jumps, poppy stuff, deep ruts, sand sections, sawdust, mulch, rhythm sections. It's got a little bit of everything, but everything's very close and compact. And you can't miss a mark by 2 inches. Like you've got to go faster on the track, you've got to be very precise. So same thing in the tight trees. Like when I'm coming back, I've got to be very precise. I can't get lazy. If I go straight back to riding a big motocross track where, oh shit, I blew the inside line, I've still got 7 more to choose from, that does me no good. Like to me, I want to be on something that holds me mentally accountable. And the tight stuff is always one of those things where your reaction time has to be stupid fast. The way that you move your body has to be very aggressive, and you always have to have the right timing. Like in the tight trees, you're moving for trees that you've already passed, because basically you can see in the follow cam that Patty did where I lean my bike in, and then as soon as my body's cleared from the tree, I drop my body. And I literally brush my back. Like my reaction time to it's so quick and so close that I'm brushing basically from my elbow down to my shoulder and across my back sometimes. I'm dropping into those trees so quick. And that was obviously one of the things I was a little bit sluggish on the weekend. Like I feel like my reaction time was just, I mean, and when I'm talking off, I'm talking thousandths, but my reaction time was just off from where it normally was, where moving my fat ass around to make it move quick is usually a little bit easier. And this weekend I was struggling a bit in the tight stuff, but that's I would say one of the best things to train when I come back to racing is tight stuff, technical stuff, compact tracks, and lots of technical ruts.
See, and the way that you break that stuff down, and the way that you broke the Yamaha down when you first got onto it, and when we talked about your suspension and stuff, like you have a very good way of elaborating and explaining yourself and explaining what's going on, explaining what's happening. And earlier in the year, you started doing those like riding tip videos of. A lot of it was like geared around tight stuff, getting through trees and stuff like that. So it's cool when you start to break it down and kind of analyze it from that perspective. And I think that probably helps a lot of people. But those little, they're almost like trick tip videos. Those things were cool. You plan on doing any more of those in the future? Just hearing you talk about that stuff made me think about it.
Yeah, definitely. That's something I want to do more of. And I've talked about doing maybe a little bit of a YouTube demonstration on some stuff that we do, like some of our training through the day. And it's just tough to do it, talk through it, find somebody to film it, find somebody to edit, post it, the whole nine. It's just like that. I feel like I always have these great ideas, but actually putting them to work is kind of difficult on a thin schedule already, running the track and everything else that goes on. Like we're trying to, hell, I'm spending, I swear, 5 hours a day on the phone lately trying to get ready for this Verb deal. And when I go ride, I'm done. I hit the gym, which luckily we have the gym there at the track, which just saves, another 40 minutes out of my day. But I swear I fill that 40 minutes up quicker than I know what to do with another phone call or whatever it is. But, I want to do more of the tech tips and riding tips. And I've done a little bit with Shan Moore. Like we did some goggle stuff, an article on goggles. And I feel like there's a lot of things that it may not work for everybody. Like I know I use different things. Like some people are roll-off guys. I'm a tear-off guy. There's little things that I wire tie, I tape, I lock tie, little things that I do differently than the next guy. There's a lot that new riders getting involved, and even a lot of people that have done it for years have never heard of. There's things like running your foot peg pins upside down, because usually your cotter keys will get scraped off by ruts in a rutted race, and then your foot peg pins usually come out from the top. And I've heard both sides of the argument. Oh, well, if you got it upside down and it does come out, it'll just fall out at the bottom. Well, yeah, you're right, but we've been doing it for almost 20 years and only had one failure ever, and it was just because we ran an aluminum over a steel cotter key. So, there's things where we do things a lot differently on the bike, setup, etc. And I've been one of the riders. I think due to my injuries, I've been really in touch with my bike, my setup, and what I do to get from point A to point B. And I think everybody over the last decade definitely has changed the way they look at their riding. I noticed Caleb said he was doing the Joseph Garcia, but he didn't elaborate on it. I recommented or applied on a story and said
I saw that exchange.
Yeah, the little burn I got back, but it's okay. I know it's that. But yeah, like I've been teaching that technique, and you can ask Ryder Lafferty about it. Which, God, I wish I didn't teach that fucker anything now. But now that I'm in competition with him, damn. No, Ryder and I are buddies, but I was teaching Ryder that same thing that I saw Caleb doing, kind of copying Joseph. I was telling Ryder about that 3 years ago, and we went out to this really slick farm that my uncle has. That's just really, really slick, hard packed, never ruts, like super shelly rock, shitty as it can be. But it's really good for building fundamentals and learning new skills. And I think the way Joseph rides is really different, really unique, but he always keeps his bike up and down under acceleration. He pulls his feet up quick and he leans to the inside of the bike rather than the outside. As Americans, we're taught crack to crack. You sit your crack your ass on the crack of the seat and sit on the outside of the bike, and that'll put weight to the outside. Well, what Joseph's doing is actually leaning on the inside of the bike, standing his bike up and using it like a street bike. When his bike's standing up, he's got more knobs on the ground. And obviously in Europe, they don't have the transition knobs we have here in the U.S. So, I see these things and I try to learn and I try to figure out why does it work? Like, if this guy's this fast, there's got to be a reason. And I've been, touching and learning on this for a few years. We've been working on it. And obviously Caleb noticed it as well. And his refound youth, it sounds like he'll be racing a little bit here coming up from the rumor mill. I don't think I need to say anything, but we'll leave it at that. But it looks like he's getting ready for some special tests from what I can tell. But watching him, he's the same way. He definitely learns and watches what riders do, where 10 years ago, nobody paid attention. Like, we just wanted to go fast. Like, how can we go as fast as we can and last as long as we can? And nobody ever broke down why these things worked. And, we were worried about a little bit of suspension testing and what tires we were running, and that was it. Now it's gotten so much more decorated. I mean, we're worried about we're worried about shaving tenths of a second, and also trying to figure out why somebody else does something different and why it might work. And you learn that, and if it doesn't work for you, then you throw it out. You might spend 6 months, or waste 6 months, should I say, learning this technique to use it 3 times. And that's the cool part of the evolution of the sport. But I feel like I'm definitely one of the guys who's really paid attention to why things work, and I feel like I can see it and also explain it. But I think that also, again, comes with a little bit of age, and I'm getting old in the young man sport.
Man, you're not getting old every time you say that.
I know. Fuck, I'm only 27, but damn, I swear to God, I feel like I'm 4 years older in this year alone. Like, I don't know what's happened. Like, the last 4 months have definitely put 4 years on my life, like 100%.
I'd say the last couple years have been pretty tough on you.
It's been rough. I mean, between the amount of Busch Light I've drank in the last couple of years, and the broken neck, and the broken, well, shit, I don't even want to go down that list of broken shit here in the last 2 months. But yeah, it's wearing me out. I feel like I'm 30 already. But yeah, I've definitely tried to stay alert and watch everything that's moving in the sport. Aside from just myself, I mean, there's so much to learn. It's one of those things you can always be better, and that's why I love it. I mean, there's no top to how good you can be on a motorcycle.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. So judging off, you were talking about riding the 450s and stuff and getting those through those tight sections. Do you guys, and I guess you can speak to your experience, but then also like experiences just throughout the industry, because I've heard several things about it, but like, do you have the option to ride a different bike? Could you ride a YZ250? Could you ride a YZ250F? And if you could, which I know you probably can't, but if you could ride one of like a smaller bike, would you at a National Enduro?
I do have the option. My focus has been on the GNCCs the last few years. I love the National Enduros, and I'm still very much focused on that series. But National Enduro to me is my home. Obviously, I love that style, but it's only 30% of my income, so I can't focus everything there. Even though you can definitely make a living there if you're winning, it's not where the bread and butter is. So I choose the 450 so that I'm not changing motorcycles back and forth. Now, that being said, I feel like, especially weekends like this, and there may be some tracks that favor the 450, but like this weekend, the YZ250F that bike is unbelievable. I mean, you look across motocross and supercross for the last 6-8 years, like that.
Since 2014, really, when they changed.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, you're hard pressed to beat that motorcycle. Like, that bike turns so good, it handles so good. Like, to be honest, I do not like the way that the Yamaha 450 feels, but I ride it so damn good, I can't argue with it. Like when I first rode the Yamaha, Corey McDonald, my now mechanic, longtime best friend, called me. He's like, "Hey, would you ride a Yamaha?" And I said, "I don't know, man. Like, I don't know that I'd get along with the team. I just don't know." And he said, "Just come up here, ride the bike." And I was like, "All right, whatever." So he hands me this practice bike. Doesn't have suspension or anything on it. I'm riding a 2-minute loop up at Jason Rains, and I was riding the Cowie at the time after the issues with Sherco, and I was planning to race every brand from there till the end of the season. I'm on this Cowie that is completely set up for me. Love the bike. Actually was faster on the Cowie than anything I had ridden. And I hop on this Yamaha first lap. I didn't even tell, like, I rode 2 turns out, and I told Corey, I was like, "Throw the stopwatch on me. I'm not even going to do a sight lap on it." First lap, second half faster. And I'm clicking off consistently faster laps. And I felt really weird on the bike. Like that was what was odd. Like
a second and a half faster than the Cowie that you already had set up?
A second and a half faster on the Cowie that I had set up perfectly for me. I got on this Yamaha that was not set up for me at all. Set up for a guy that was 60 pounds lighter than I am and was instantly faster. And I didn't feel comfortable on the bike. Like I got off and I told Corey, I was like, there's no shot I was faster on the bike. Like I felt good enough to get a read on it. Like I felt instantly comfortable on the bike, like enough to do a lap. And that was that. Like I felt like it turned really good, but it was light in the ass end, heavy in the front, kind of tough to turn. And then I get on it and I just rode it like so well. Like the stopwatch doesn't lie. When it really comes down to it, if I would have gone off a feel, I probably would have just said, you know what, screw this bike, I'm going to stay with the Cowie. But I put the stopwatch to it, and man, it doesn't lie. I mean, I was instantly faster. Then we throw suspension at it a couple weeks later, and I'm clicking off, 5 and 6 seconds faster in a 2-3 minute track. So, that was like kind of the eye-opening moment. And then I rode a Yamaha 250F. I was doing a riding school down in Georgia at Dennis Johnson's place, and I rode a 250F, and the bike was like, I know it's the same chassis. I don't know what it is, but man, that 250F is like unbelievable. And I ride the 450 very well, better than any bike I've ridden to date. But that 250F, I didn't even want to put a stopwatch to it. Like I didn't want to know my time. If it was better, I was just going to leave it at that. Like, because I rang the balls off of that thing is from the time I sat on it to the time I was waved off the track because they were worried I was going to blow it up. I had to remind them it was a Yamaha. Like those things, I can testify to a lot on that bike. Like my bike go through hell to still be running. I'm very impressed. Currently, I have one sitting under a compartment of my camper.
Yeah, was that your race bike?
No, I wish it was. Would have made a cooler story, but no, I didn't want to go. So the track was only 2 hours south of me, and Corey, the race shop's an hour and a half north of me. So I didn't want to go up there, hook up to the trailer, get all the bikes, and then go back down. But the last time, since I've got an A-Class, the engine's on the back, and I've got a little hitch carrier. The last time I used it, my bike got so hot that the plastic was melting.
Oh, no.
So, Corey was like, whatever you do, don't put it on the back. Find somebody that's going down there. And I was like, well, nobody from the track's going down there, so I'm going to throw it under the compartment. And he was trying to tell me that there's no way it's going to go under the compartment. I said, you watch. So I had to throw a little Instagram tag out and let him know that it worked just fine. But yeah, that was not the race bike. But I have a feeling by the end of the season, we'll probably have more than one bike stuffed under that RV. And one will be the race bike. Maybe Michigan. I don't know. But no, that was just
well, now you know you can.
Bike we take. What's that?
I said, well, now that you know you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was badass. It was definitely a head turner. When I got to the track, people were walking up and asking, like, "Hey, did you actually put your dirt bike under your camper?" And I'm like, watch this. Whip that bitch out. But yeah, it was just one of those things I kind of had to do. I do have a trailer here that I could have hooked up to, but the fact that Corey told me I couldn't, more or less, or I don't know if he said I couldn't or wouldn't, but either way, I did it.
I can just picture Jade now. Stu, where's Levi's pack and play? Oh, it's in the second compartment right behind the dirt bike.
Dude, that pack and play, Jesus, I can't stand those damn things. I trip over something. It's a kid's toy. Everywhere I go, I swear, I step on something any day.
Oh, that's all
more mobile that kid gets, it's insane. My wallet is nowhere to be found. We have I've lived in this house for 7 years, and I have never lost a TV remote. I can't tell you where either of our TV remotes are. We had to download apps to work our TV.
Well, at least you know where your phone's at.
Yeah, half the time, the kid the kid will be like calling. Not he does the. I've never had a passcode on my phone until like a couple weeks ago, and now that there's passcode, he's found out that that he can like hold down on something and do an emergency call. So it's like once a week we're calling 911.
Oh, it makes a cool noise though.
yeah. It starts going bah, bah. Like what in the hell is going on? Just the kid on the phone again. No big deal. But
dang.
Yeah. He's learning fast how to cause mischief.
How has it been, like, obviously as a first-time father, and I know a lot of the XC1 guys now are having kids and having more kids and all of that. How much has that added to your race weekends? And I guess because of that, like, bringing the family to the race, having everyone there, but then also, like, enjoying the victories, enjoying the celebrations, enjoying the podiums with the kid. Like, has having him made a big difference on the way that you look at racing?
Yes and no. Once my helmet's on, I don't really think of much except going as hard as I can, as fast as I can, as long as I can. The difference that I've noticed is more or less off the bike. Like he wants to be involved. It's a lot more work. Obviously, there's a lot more work that goes into it. But he absolutely loves the racing. Like that kid loves dirt bikes, motorcycles more than any kid should love motorsports. Like every day that he comes out to the track, I start up my bike. If I'm getting in my gear, he literally gets on his knees and starts bouncing up and down and clapping, and he knows what's coming next. Like he's going for a ride. And I mean, from the time he was 6 months old, like he's been able to hop on the bike. I'll throw him up on the front of the seat, and he can hold on to the bike. Basically, he puts his hands down between his legs and sits there. I don't even have to hold him up. Like I can use my clutch and everything. I don't have to worry. Like he literally holds himself up, no problem at all. And he knows what he's doing. He's not even a year, and he crawls up on a strider and kind of bounces around on that thing at nights. And he's all in. Like 100%, he is all into it, which is definitely. I want to say it's definitely cool. Like it obviously is cool, but I was really hoping for more stick and ball sports, like something that number one would be a whole lot cheaper, number two, a whole lot less cocksuckers in it to deal with if you ever get good at it, and number three,
don't play baseball then.
Oh, is it not good? Oh shit. And number three, just more money. Like if you ever get to the top of one of those sports, like obviously the chances are less, but if you get to the top of one of those sports, you know you're making money. Like you can get to the top of this sport and still not make much money.
Yep. Go to college
but
free.
I think we're screwed. I think we're racing dirt bikes, so I should probably stop saying that. I'm just gonna have to figure out how to make people make more money before then. So I need to start changing the sport now. What are you clapping at? Is he on a strider? Oh, he is currently. Jade's in here clapping her hands. He's currently rocking on a strider. He's got his leg over it. Actually, he's got his leg hung between the seat and the tire. But
training early, about to be a year old, right? Just a few weeks away from being a year old.
Yep, just almost a month away, and 3 weeks now. So, that's he is anything two wheels or with a loud motor. He is about it.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a very expensive next 20 years. Well, hopefully 18, 17. When did I start making money at this sport? 15. The next 15 years. That means at 15, he better be making money. That's all I got to say.
These next few contracts you negotiate, you better negotiate them well, because you're gonna have a habit that you gotta spend money on here soon.
Damn right. You're damn right. We've got the blue Strider. luckily at Bicycle Shop, Eric gave us the strut or that's what it's called, right? Strider, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got a Yamaha Blue Strider. Next is gonna come. What are the next things, Jake? Stay. We got to get a Yamaha Stay 6, and keep on going up. So, but yeah, it's bad. He makes dirt bike noises. He sees a dirt bike and immediately starts saying "da-da," clapping, smiling. Except at the podium this weekend, because apparently he expected me to win. He was pissed off at the podium. Don't know why, but he was mad as hell.
He's like, man, there's supposed to be one of these guys on both sides of us. We're not supposed to be on the end.
Well, I think a little bit of it is his mom ruined one of my Cherokee trophies. I've got the biggest Indian they've ever put into the trophies down there, and here and they're fussing. It fell off the stand literally right before the race, like Thursday before we left for the race, and Levi was really upset about his Indian man that fell down. So I think that's why he was so upset at the podium. He really wanted that Indian man, and since Mom ruined it, and Dad couldn't go fast enough to get one, so he was just not having it.
Oh, maybe next year. But real quick, and then I want to get into the Verb stuff and some of the other stuff that you're doing. Going from one side of the family to the other side of the family, as competitive as you are, you have a younger brother that happens to be pretty decent at riding dirt bikes too. And this past weekend, you saw that come down where Grant won a National Enduro title the year before last, and now as you're coming back from injury and stuff, Grant gets to win this past weekend. What is that dynamic like for you guys? Like being brothers and being at the top of the sport. Like I know it's probably got to be bittersweet, I would imagine, just how competitive you are. But what part of that, basically like the balance of being happy for your little brother winning versus being pissed that should have beat him?
I feel like as brothers, we're obviously always like happy when one another does well, deep down, whether we show it or not, and it's good to see him do well. But also as brothers, you get frustrated with things like you're not ever going to see eye to eye. You're never going to say, oh, well, he's doing everything right. It's more or less like you could be doing this differently. So for me, like being my younger brother, like I would really like to see Grant change his effort on racing, because knowing his talent level, like I feel like he would be completely unstoppable across the board if he changed some little things. But then at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm like, shit, if I tell him what to change and he does it, then that's my paycheck. So, like, obviously, like I said, I mean, it was really good for him to win. I'm looking at it points wise. 18 points sounds a whole lot better than 23 points out of the lead. So I would have liked to win a little bit more than I would like to see him win. But like when he got his first win down at Big Buck the other year or last year, I felt like that was good that I actually got to see that one, and that was cool. I definitely appreciate it when we do well, especially when we both do well and park at 1 and 2. I mean, whether I'm first or second, when we're first and second, like that's a hard feeling to beat. I can remember the first time it ever happened, and last year at Ohio was the first time we ever went both brothers on the podium, but that was still when GNCC was thinking that COVID was around and an actual actually we were going to get it on the podium or some bullshit, so we didn't even get to stand on the podium together.
Oh no.
So we're still looking for that GNCC podium that we get to share. But on the National Enduros, we've gone 1 and 2 quite a bit. I'd say if you look back in the recent decade, like there's been no person on the podium as much as either of us. If you combine, but actually not even combine it. Like if you look at me or Grant, there's been nobody compared as far as how many times we've been on the podium in the last, realistically, probably even 20 years at this point. And that's cool as hell. Like, we ride that stuff really well. But coming from the Southeast, where Seacher was huge when we were growing up, like, that is our style of racing. So, that's what we know. That's what we grew up on. That's the stuff we rode day in and day out. And my dad was an enduro racer, and my mechanic, Grant's mechanic, Alan Gravitt, who you saw the AG post, they called, or the AG test, they called it. Like, he was big time enduro guy. Randy Hawkins, who I currently ride for, big time enduro rider. Steve Hatch, we both worked with growing up, was also a really good enduro rider. And our background is very decorated on the enduro side, and it's tough to beat Grant when he's on. There's no doubt, but I'm happy for him as far as like when we're together. Like, we'll talk about other racers and other bullshit going on throughout the week, or negotiations, and how shitty sometimes the industry can be. But realistically, we don't really talk about us racing or anything like that. It's more or less just we line up for race day, we do our thing, and whoever rides well, thumbs up to the other guy and roll out. But it's just business on that end. But it is good to see him do well. I just, like I said, I prefer him sitting in second and me sitting in first.
Dang. Yeah. And that's why I wanted to bring it up and kind of ask that question, just because knowing how competitive you are, and I mean, that's how you both put food on the table. I was just curious on how that whole thing worked out. How old is Grant?
He's 23, like 24.
So 3 years younger?
Yep. 3 years younger.
Gotcha. Well, man, I know that I guess coming up here in a few weeks, you're having a little shindig down at your place, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit and get the word out and get some people coming out to the shoals to race some dirt bikes.
Yeah, so we've got the Verb Day or the Verb Shred Tour. So basically, we picked a weekend that's very risky. Verb contacted us, asked if we would have any interest in doing this thing, and it was something that we definitely wanted to try. And I tried doing a GP, God, it's been 6 years ago now, out at the shoals, and it was not a money maker, but it wasn't it wasn't, we weren't losing money, but it just wasn't worth it. Like, it wasn't worth trying to do much more with it. And we had pretty bad weather with it. And obviously with my racing, it's tough to kind of try anything else. And these guys asked if we wanted to do something kind of moto and off-road. Like, first we discussed doing like a team race and a bunch of different things we kind of discussed. And I was like, well, I've got an interest in doing GPs. They kill it up in New England, and I feel like that would be the best event as far as for the trails that we have and the tracks that we have. So we've put this all together, and it's gonna be tough on our end to get everything together. We're gonna have we're still, which if anybody wants to come down, flag or work gates or whatever, we're looking for a ton of hands. We've got to have. I'm still looking for 18 employees. We've got to have about 30 people for the weekend. So
I heard y'all got a good announcer lined up, though.
Shoot the Shoals a message if you're interested. I've got an announcer. I hear he's half-assed, but we've got an announcer. So kind of a well, we felt bad for him since he got fired recently. I mean,
man,
quit
look
his
at
job,
you
whatever.
helping the
And he's kind of
unemployed. You're doing better than the
living in his
president.
Tesla and shit. Like, but we do have a great announcer, so that spot is filled. But no, it's going to be a hopefully the perfect mix of moto and off road. We've got about 4 minutes of off road, 3.5 minutes of moto. I'm going to put an extreme section leading into the finish line. We've got a pro rider split. It's going to be a rock garden that the other riders will bypass. we're shooting for about 7-minute lap times for each class, which obviously for 50s and 65s, we're going to have to put a cut in. And I'm going to cut a little bit of the moto as well as a little bit of the woods. That way it's not favoring one side or the other for those guys. Big guys get full track and full experience. Practice Friday, racing's going to be all day Saturday. Friday, we're going to have a band. We're going to have beer. We're going to have everything kind of popping off Friday afternoon after the practice is over. It's going to be hot. So hopefully the beer will be just cold enough to keep everybody's temperature down. Probably going to break out some pit bikes. Just trying to have a fun-filled weekend. Obviously, it is the fourth weekend, so everybody's going to want to have as much fun as possible, and that's what we're about. So that's the plan is keep it fun and keep it light, but also do some fun racing and intense racing at that. Being the GP style, I think that's gonna mix things up to where everybody's racing a little bit more intense, and you're gonna see some more good battles than you would in a 3-hour race or a national enduro being head to head. So that's what we're going for, and it's definitely shaping up on my end of things to be much tougher than I expected to try to get everything to work. It sounded very easy. And then I started trying to figure out, okay, well, we've got 7 races, 2 motos each. And also you have to line each person up and drop the gate every 30 seconds. So it's going to be live engine gate drops. So we're literally going to stagger 6 rows. Or the races that have 6 classes. I think one race only has 4 classes, but we're going to have 6 rows lined up based on how you pre-register first. First entry gets first serve on the gates, and then after first moto, we'll have to print out to go back to figure out who's lining up first and what order for the next one, and we'll have them rolling up. Basically, you'll pick the guy that you want to be lined up behind on that gate, and you roll up as he rolls out, and that gate picks back up, and you got 30 seconds to go. No gate prep, nothing to worry about there. You drop it, and you roll out into the next one. If it's absolutely a mutter, which that would kind of be nice, being as hot as it'll be that weekend, we probably won't do gates because the ruts will get too gnarly, but we'll decide that then. But we've got to come up with a plan A and a plan B for everything. And it's been, on our end, it's a little bit more difficult. The scoring side's been difficult, but we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Really wish we would have done a lot more press on this at the beginning, but I feel like a style of racing like this would be very beneficial to off-road at a national scale. Obviously, J-Day does a great job up north, but they're pulling national numbers just in New England. So to take this to more of a national scale and see how it does, like I'm kind of excited to see. I think it'll get a good cross from moto riders as well as off-road riders, and see truly who the best riders are. And that's more or less what I want to see. And, hopefully a little bit of change for the future and what we see in racing, but maybe it fails, maybe it flops, but it's going to be cool either way. I'm going to have a good time. Actually, probably not. I'm going to probably be stressed as hell, but everybody racing hopefully will have a good time. And as soon as I'm done prepping tracks on Friday night, I'll be joining the band and the beer, and I'll probably be having a couple too many. And I'm inviting anybody that wants to come on. I think it'll be a badass time. I know July 4th, everybody has plans to be on the lake, but realistically, we're dirt bike riders. Come out and ride your dirt bike. You can go out on the lake on Sunday, Monday, whatever. We do have practice if you want to stick around Sunday, but I won't blame you if you leave.
There you have it. Weekend of fun in the sun and still get a lake day on Sunday. You can't beat it.
I have a big pond, so if you bring a kayak, I don't know. I don't have any fishing or anything to do, but you can jump in and get wet.
Cool down, maybe. Might be hot. I don't know.
If it's not boiling hot water by then.
Well, cool, man. How long are the motos gonna be?
So for all of our amateur and youth classes, aside from my classes that have 50s in them, which there's only two races that have 50s in them. So the races with 50s are 15 minutes. All of my amateurs are 20 minutes, and my pro races and pro two-stroke race is going to be 30 minutes. So we're going for an average 30-minute cycle, and I know people are going to complain about the 50s not getting a full 30 minutes, but what they have to understand is the slowest rider on the track will most likely take a 15-minute lap time, which means it's going to take me 30 minutes to clear that track to get the next moto going. And if we can't stay close to 30 minutes on each cycle, we'll be racing till 9 o'clock on Saturday. And we just can't do that. That's going to be a little bit too much. So trying to run 7 races before 12:30, hopefully take a quick break, which most likely everything will be shifted back an hour because, well, let's face it, racing, it always happens. Somebody always ends up having some issue, and something always goes backwards. So it's our first event like this. I'm expecting some things to have issues, but we're going to try to roll it as tight as we can. If we have 2 classes with less than 20 on each, we'll do an inside-outside gate so that we can keep the starts a little bit tighter. Any space we can tighten up, like, that's the plan. We're trying to roll it with like a local moto style. So the way we have our classes, you've got pros can run 2 races, A riders can run 2 races, B riders can run 2 races, C riders can run 2 races, 65s can run 2, 3 races if you're in that kind of transition stage between 50 and 65 or 65 and 85. Like, a lot of those kids can run 3 races. So it's going to be kind of following like the local moto schedule, but doing it with half moto and half off road. And I'm just hoping that it kind of takes off. Like, it would be definitely something different than your normal day at the moto track or your normal day in the woods. And I think it's a good place to show your skill set on either end.
Sick. It sounds like it's going to be an awesome weekend. I'm stoked to be a small part of it. I'm stoked to be down there, and I'll help you drink some of that cold beer. Don't want none of that to go to waste. But,
damn right.
Yeah, 4th of July weekend. I think the race is on July 2nd, right? I think the 4th is Monday.
Correct. Yep. So the 4th is Monday. I'm going to be on the lake, obliviated on Monday, hopefully drinking off a really good weekend. Either way, I'll probably be drinking. Whether it's a bad weekend, I got to drink it off, or a good weekend. We'll be out on the lake, so I'm not missing any lake time for this. But
yeah. So if anybody out there has any reservations about 4th of July weekend, you got Monday off. Go to the lake on Monday. Relax. Have fun.
Exactly. Or Sunday. Again, we have practice Sunday. If you want to stick around, if you like riding your dirt bike that much to go 3 days in a row, I'm all for it. I'll be there 3 days in a row. But if you miss out on Sunday and you got to go to the lake, I promise I'm not going to blame you one bit, because that's where I'd be if I didn't have to be working it. But either way, I can do about 2 days on the bike. So Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday, however you want to play it. We've got all 3 open. Verb's going to be doing a ton of media, so the chances of doing something big and going viral are pretty good. We're going to have a ton of cameras around the track. Verb's trying to kind of step into the off-road a little bit more. A lot of people have asked about it, so I think that's really cool, because they used to be a big part in the off-road, and they've kind of stepped away. But ton of cameras out there, so if anybody has any really cool big crashes, hopefully we'll catch it on camera and you'll go viral. If not, you're probably not going viral. So you better do something cool, step up to the plate, or win your race.
Yeah, there you go. Simple as that. Get those reels bonuses.
Exactly. But no, it's gonna be a good weekend. I think we've got practice is gonna be 12 to 4 Friday, and that'll be basically, we're gonna do 1 round on the full track, and then after the first round of practice, we're gonna break it down to where we're running what we call our amateur track in the woods, so that we can go ahead and start prepping our big track for Saturday, get as much water down as we can. And then when we're done at 4 o'clock, we're going to go ahead and prep the amateur track and whatever else needs to be watered, etc. And track changes made for race 1 starting Saturday. Riders meeting is going to be I think 7:30 on Saturday, right before we drop the gates at 8 o'clock for our first moto. And again, hopefully we'll get everything moved through it quick. And if anybody's looking for a little bit of work on that weekend, let me know. I've got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Mainly Saturday, but Friday and Sunday as well. I'm going to need a couple extra flaggers. We're going to need some people. We're going to need some smarter people to run the sign up. Whatever else, if you're flagging, you don't have to be quite as smart. So hold yourselves accountable. Don't tell me you're a genius and you can run numbers. I mean, I'm not going to say that I can run a backup book. Like I know my place.
Sweet. Well, good deal, man. Looking forward to it, and appreciate your time as always. I'm going to say congratulations on the weekend because I think grabbing second place was pretty damn badass. So congratulations on the weekend. And I guess we'll see you after Snowshoe, I imagine.
After Snowshoe?
Well, we'll see you at Snowshoe. We'll be talking on the show about Snowshoe after Snowshoe.
Okay, just making sure.
You're still planning to
conversation earlier?
Do what?
Not everybody wants me to race Snowshoe, but I am racing Snowshoe.
You are. Stamp, confirm it.
Not technically, but you heard it here first. So if anybody gives it any grief, I'm going to say, listen, I've already announced it. I'm sorry, too late.
Breaking news.
No, I'll be there. I mean, you can't tempt me with a good time and expect me to sit on the bench. So I'll be at Snowshoe. I'll be there.
Snowshoe is a must-have, and you called Snowshoe before the face thing, so the face thing can't get in the way of Snowshoe.
Exactly. I've been saying that was my comeback date since the beginning of it. So whether it happens or not, I'm not even saying whether it happens or not. Like, it's going to happen. I'll be at Snowshoe. I'm going to rip one of my notorious hole shots of Snowshoe, or I'm going to send it into the fucking hay bales, because I've done that too. Twice. I'm going for the hole shot. If I don't get it, whatever. I'll probably be on line 5 with Caleb, who got me on the hole shot last time he and I raced. He also got me on the win on the last ski slope going back up to the top.
I was about to say, man, I don't want to see any more photos of someone looking back giving you the shaking no finger.
Yeah, 1.4 seconds I got to come up with between now and then. So, yeah, it should be. I'm hoping. I hear Johnny G's racing, Zacho, Caleb. So, row 5, if we can get GNCC, obviously, I think we should be able to get them to throw us on line 5. I think line 5 should really be popping off that week. So, if everything goes well, I'm going to sprint to the front. I'm going to kick Caleb's front end out going into turn 1. I'm going to sprint to the front, and then I'm just going to hold on for the win. So that's what I'm planning on. Obviously, I'm fat and out of shape, so we'll see what happens between the green and the checkers. But that's what I'm going with right now. If anything else happens, either way, I'll still be fine. I'm having fun on my dirt bike.
Man, you go out there and get the damn win, podium. We won't put stipulations on it. We're just going to get drunk and do the show on top of the mountain Sunday night in person.
Oh, God. That might be a show to watch.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it earlier in the night.
Good thinking. Don't do it by the
everything after that usually gets incriminating.
Don't do it anymore. Yeah, 100%. We gotta watch what time we do it.
All right, man. We're looking forward to it. Good talking with you. Thanks again, and yeah, we'll see you next weekend.
All right, sounds good. See you, man.
See ya.